Jordan Raanan covered a lot of those games for the Eagles side of things. He's now covering the Giants for ESPN.com's NFL Nation. And it's a team that, much like the Eagles, Jordan, this is a huge game. In fact, ESPN says it's the most impactful game of the weekend for the winner and the loser. Their seasons could be going in very different directions depending on who wins and loses this game.
Yeah, I think we had our odds people put it at like something like the Giants' odds making the playoffs right now are 30-something%, and if they win this game, they jump over to 50%. So obviously, a huge swing game. A huge swing game for whichever team wins this game and takes sole possession second place. Stay within shouting distance of the Cowboys, who play the Browns, who you would think would take care of business, even though that game is in Cleveland. So, they'd be 7-1. Whichever team falls to 4-4, I mean, you're 3 games back in the NFL, 8 games remaining. I do not like your chances. I mean, that's pretty basic mathematics right there. So, huge game for both teams. Giants coming off the bye too. That should work in their favor. Teams off the bye this year at home, 5-0. So it definitely helps to rest, and it definitely helps to play at home.
So, Jordan, you look at this team, the Giants, they upgraded the defense in the offseason. They thought that would help out. So what happened to the offense?
The offense fell apart. The quarterback is not playing very well. He's not played well over the first 7 games. He has 8 touchdown passes. Carson Wentz has more. He has 8 turnovers. Carson Wentz has less. And that's just not what the Giants were looking for from this offense this year. It's not all Eli Manning, but he has played poorly. The offensive line is about what they thought it would be, so it's not like a huge downgrade there. The tight ends, though, they've struggled, especially with their run blocking. Their blocking is bad. They haven't really provided much in regards to pass catching either, so tight end has been a struggle. And the running backs, to be quite honest, just have not done the job so far this season. I mean, they're not making yards after contact. I sometimes see holes, and it doesn't look like they're making enough yards. The gaps that are actually there for them to gain yards. So the Giants, it's pretty much been a struggle across the board for them offensively. It hasn't clicked in any way, shape, or form. The play calling has been somewhat questionable, and they've been very vanilla. They've been in 3 wide receivers almost every single snap. I mean, 90-something% of the snaps this year. They're not changing it up. They don't even have a fullback on the roster, and the running game has just been non-existent. Dead last in the NFL in running the football. But they spent a lot of time on it this week, so expect them to really put an effort into trying everything they can to get this run game going by the time they get through that first half or get into the middle of this game on Sunday.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jordan. Jordan Raanan with us, ESPN Giants reporter, because I talked with Mike Gill earlier and said the one thing that would concern me is all the narrative about the Giants' run game is so bad and Rashad Jennings is a known name, but if Paul Perkins is a guy that jumps up, or which running back do you expect then to carry the load, or who gives them the best chance to win?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was just kind of inquiring about that and poking around a little bit. I had heard that Paul Perkins, we're going to see a little bit more of him. It doesn't mean he's going to be the primary back or he's going to be getting a majority of the carries. I just think we're going to be seeing a little bit more of him than we have so far. He's the only back really has shown an ability to make plays. I mean, Orleans Dark was a guy who they just don't really want to use. I don't understand why, but it just hasn't – I don't know what his deal is. So he's kind of not in the mix. It's kind of Jennings is back, and he's their guy. He's been injured a lot of the first half, hasn't really gotten going. The Giants haven't really committed to it a lot throughout the first 7 games as well. And, Bobby Rainey is playing a bigger role now too. So you're going to see him on passing downs, unless his calf injury that he apparently picked up is something that's going to limit him. But he's kind of filled in that Shane Vereen role. So you're still going to see a lot of running backs with the Giants. But this, in my opinion, I think the way it's going to work out is this next game or two is kind of Rashad Jennings' last chance to grab a hold of a starting running back spot in the NFL. And if it doesn't work for him now, it's hard to imagine at age 31 going on 32 that it's going to happen going forward. So it's kind of his last hurrah here. I think he's going to get that opportunity to start here against the Eagles, and they're going to see where it goes from there, and then that'll kind of determine who you'll see carrying the ball most for the Giants.
Jordan, no touchdowns for Odell Beckham Jr. this season. Is this the matchup this Sunday? Does that end the streak?
Well, he has 3. He has 3 touchdowns, Odell. He scored 2 against the Ravens and 1 late against the Packers.
Yeah.
Green Bay, like late night, Monday night game.
Definitely been struggling.
Yes, he has not. I mean, it's not that he's struggling. It's just been a little hit or miss for him this year. I wouldn't say struggling. He struggled last game because he was injured. He had abdominal hip injury, something like that, and was very limited last time they were on the field. So he's still been limited at practice this week. He's not going to be 100%, but I do expect him to be fairly healthy, close to 100%, which is a bonus for the Giants. Last year they played the Eagles. He was struggling with a hamstring injury that first game, the first meeting between the two teams, and he was also severely limited. So the Eagles are going to see a much better Odell Beckham, and it's just been a struggle to get him the ball this year. That's been the biggest problem. He hasn't played in the slot. The Giants have really stuck to him and Victor Cruz on the outside and rookie Sterling Shepard in the slot. I think we might see them move him around a little bit more, not a ton, a little bit more, because it's made them a little predictable. It's made them a little easier to double team. And I think was something the Giants are really going to try and shake up here and get him into matchups where he can get one-on-one basically with anyone. But, it applies for all teams. If you get Odell Beckham Jr. in one-on-one matchup, you feel really good about your chances to win. But against some of these Eagles cornerbacks in particular, I think the Giants would like to get that opportunity, get Odell one-on-one. If they could get it in the slot, I know the Eagles lost their slot receiver recently. They did all right the other day, it seems, against Cole Beasley, but it's still not a matchup day. Why? What is it? Jalen Mills in the slot, I believe.
Yep. Well, sometimes
whoever it is, you want those guys matched against Odell Beckham out of the slot. That's a matchup I think that the Giants would like to try and work and try and get whoever it is covering the slot for the Eagles.
Well, and Jordan, I should clarify that, of course, I was remembering when he got in the fight with the kicking net. I should have remembered the hug.
Right, exactly. Well, he did. You know what? At that point, he was 4 games or so into the season. He had not scored a touchdown, or 5 games into the season before he actually got into the end zone.
Well, and I think too, where PT, in doing his homework for today's show, he hasn't caught a touchdown pass in the first half of a game. It's been, and a lot of times the Giants are winning because he gets going early and then they get him the ball. And it just seems like he hasn't got into that kind of game yet where they just keep going to him and going to him. But the Eagles and Giants
haven't gotten the ball in the first quarter at all. His first quarter production is the lowest by far of any of his quarters, and that's also another thing.
Hey, look,
they've been trying to rectify.
You've been on both sides of this. You were covering the Eagles, and they were probably beating the Giants. And now that you're on the Giants beat, the Eagles are still beating the Giants up there in New York. And a lot of the Giants, a lot of the same personnel, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Is this just a styles make fights? This is just a bad matchup for the Giants.
A little bit, yeah. Because the fact that they can't run the ball, I think, has hurt them. The Eagles haven't been the best run defense. It's just I don't know. Maybe I think there's something to it, but at the same time, but how much of it applies now? Because
right. Well, the Eagles aren't very similar on. A lot of the offense is the same. It's just Wentz.
Their offense. Their offense is completely new, right?
Yes and no. I mean, Wentz is now the guy, so their offense is different. But you still got Matthews. Yeah. You still got.
I just mean with the style, though. I mean, their style is different offensively.
Right.
This isn't Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly offense maybe gave them problems. I think that was definitely something.
Well, that's a good
point. I'm not sure how much that applies because the offense is now they're basically back to Andy Reid.
All right, Eli.
Which I guess may apply too because Andy Reid used to go against Steve Spagnuolo back in the day too, and he's now back as the Giants defensive coordinator. So I do think matchups play somewhat into it. I do think also the Giants just haven't been very good.
Well, the difference in this game, Jordan, the Giants line against the Eagles defensive front, is that really who wins this game?
The Giants, I think they're just trying to get a stalemate there. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine the Giants are going to come out and just dominate that matchup. They need to get the ball in their playmakers' hands, and they need their quarterback to kind of really carry them on their back. I think that's for the Giants. That's what it's up to. If Eli Manning can play a decent, average, or good game, then the Giants.
All right, Jordan Raanan, ESPN.com. I think we got a bad connection. We're getting ready to wrap up with him here on the show. And, of course, Jordan, Eagles, Giants right here this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Two teams with a lot of distractions, off-the-field issues, but a big game nonetheless. What is the feeling at Giant practice this week?
The feeling is they're 4-3 and have not played very well. They're coming off a bye. They're rested. They're healthier. And that they're going to be able to kind of turn it up. They're trending forward. They are on a 2-game winning streak coming into this game also.
Yep.
So 2-game winning streak with a little rest. Their offense really can't get much worse, and yet they've managed to still have a winning record. So I think they feel good about themselves entering this game. Also, you look at the Eagles, they're coming off a tough game on Sunday night. It went to overtime. They got banged up a little bit in that game, and now the Giants are freshly rested, and they're coming in here. They're the home team off the bye week. So I think there's a lot working in the Giants' favor, and that's kind of how they're looking at it.
All right, Jordan Raanan, ESPN.com's NFL Nation Giants reporter. Enjoy the game, pal.
You got it, guys. You too. I'll see you soon.